there, wig lover. This is Heather from Hair Kitty Kitty and Sister Wigs. I gotta get used to saying Hair Kitty Kitty first. It's gonna take a little while, I think, because I've been saying Sister Wigs for like a bajillion years. Well, like 9.5 at this point, but that's a long time to try to break a habit, you know? I figure since we didn't do a live stream on Saturday and we're not going to do one this week either, we're going to wait until after the new year to start those up again, that it's been a while and I should just kind of touch base, give you like a little end of the year recap, show off this cute little willow wig that I'm wearing in aniston foil, available at hairkitty.com. Shameless self-promotion. Achieved. So first off, we're going to be putting the Amazon store on pause, and part of that's because it's just taking a lot more work than I think we expected to compete for sales there. It's like a whole nother social media platform really in function, and I don't really want to spend that much time on it. It feels like Amazon is where people go to sell extraordinarily cheap and chintzy wigs, and I don't know if I necessarily want to be a part of that. As I've mentioned in the past, I'm very interested in flirting with the notion of going to like Etsy instead. And if you guys are fans of Etsy, let me know in the comments, because I am very interested to think about that as an alternative. It's really, I just want to spend as much time and money and effort. I want to really concentrate that on building up Hair Kitty Kitty and the brands that we are developing, namely Wigs Forever and the Sister Wigs Limited wig brands. And this is a Wigs Forever unit, this Willow. I've been working directly with the factory, which is a lot of fun, and it's very creative, and it's a whole new world for me. The problem, though, is it's also very expensive up front, which is like a white-knuckle, nail-biting experience. It's very, very, very nerve-wracking, particularly when you consider the fact that, you know, in hindsight, I probably picked the absolute worst time probably, you know, that I could have picked out of the last like 30 years to launch a wig brand, let alone two, because there are so many problems with the supply chain and everything like that, because of these challenging times. Trademark. But I mean, it's literally affecting every part of the economy, not just wigs. But we're moving through it. But because, you know, I kind of get the sense that a lot of the stuff that, and I might be wrong on this, but I kind of get the sense that a lot of the stuff that's sold on eBay is kind of like Alibaba. You know, it's like people, like stores from Alibaba, like after Alibaba got really disrupted like a year and a half ago and Jack Ma got kind of disappeared, which if you're not familiar with any of this, please Google it because it's kind of a big deal. A lot of those sellers ended up migrating to Amazon directly, and the bottom fell out on the pricing. The quality is all over the map. Some of that stuff, I mean, I've bought a ton of Amazon wigs just trying to see what the competition there looks like. Some of it's good, and some of it is awful. Just freaking terrible. And it's high risk to buy a ton of stuff on there. I think that's why you see so much content on YouTube about, like, I bought this cheap $20 Amazon wig, you know? Plus, a lot of people are just part of that Amazon affiliate program. Hence why I launched an affiliate program for Hair Kitty Kitty. I think that's the second time I've done a shameless self-promotion. Woo-ha! So, we do get the ability now to offer international direct shipping and sales, so we don't really need the Amazon store for that. We can also offer free returns, so that we provide that as well, but it's only for U.S. domestic customers. So if you buy from Hair Kitty Kitty, you can return stuff for free, 100% for free, not just no restocking fee, as in we pay for the return shipping too, which is something that we wanted to use Amazon for, because that's kind of like a prime benefit. But now that we're offering that directly, we don't really need to go through Amazon to do that, nor do we need to pay Amazon a 20% cut off the top just to facilitate that. We actually get really good shipping rates right now because we're working through a logistics company that is helping us with that. So I'm super happy to report that both those things are now available directly through hairkitty.com. Again, we offer 100% free returns for U.S. domestic customers, and even though international customers cannot return anything they buy from us just because of the headaches of the administrative overhead of shipping stuff internationally, we don't want to have to go through it twice or even 3 or 4 times to deal with returns. We do business directly now with international customers all over the globe. So it doesn't matter where you're coming from. If you want to order something from us, we're here for you now at hairkitty.com. So on the main channel, though, the regular Sister Wigs channel, you've probably noticed we've been migrating most of that content off of the channel. Even the stuff that had a lot of views, we've been migrating it to our Vimeo. So it's Sister Wigs on Vimeo. Literally every video I've ever made that has been public is on that Vimeo channel, including all the Sister Wigs 2 live streams are there. I just have to change out the thumbnails so they're easier to see. That is like a work in progress. It's kind of like a low priority at the moment, given everything else that's going on, but it's definitely on the list of stuff to do at some point. But all the live streams are there, all of the videos I've made, and it's a pretty hefty catalog. I mean, even with stuff pruned out that other people made for us, it's still like about 1,250 videos, so, give or take, something around those lines. And we're going to keep making more. In fact, I'm planning to make a whole ton more. And what we plan to do, by the way, is if we ever do shut Sister Wigs down, which is on the table, because frankly, I don't have the passion for dealing with those brands anymore. Like, I don't actually feel that thrilled about any of the products they're creating. And maybe that's just because I thoroughly enjoy making my own. So it might just be kind of like a bias on my end, and I'm perfectly willing to admit that. But I do think that because my heart's not in it anymore, and it's kind of like a chore to talk about these other brands because I'm not that enthusiastic about what they're making or any of the colors they're producing, and it just seems like there's no rhyme or reason to some of it sometimes. Like, I just, you know, so what I plan to do is if we ever decide to do anything where we close Sister Wigs, like if I finally give it up and my business partner's not interested anymore, we will let everybody know. But this is kind of like the initial warning to use those gift cards if you're holding on to them for name brand products. And if you don't use them, please know that if we ever do shut Sister Wigs down, which we're not completely married to shutting it down, it's got a lot of SEO mojo. And it's still doing pretty well. It's just I'm not that interested in it anymore as a project. But just, I mean, I'm being honest, and it sounds ridiculous to say it, which is why I'm smiling. But it's like, we will transfer those gift cards over to Hair Kitty Kitty. So anybody who has money hanging out there will still have that money there, right? And you can still use it to buy wigs. It's just, if we ever do anything where we disconnect ourselves from any of these name brand suppliers, we will do our damnedest to make sure that you have an opportunity to get a heads up and use those gift cards on those brands if you're interested. We want to make sure that we are trying to be sensitive to that. Even if we're not interested in these brands anymore, you might be. And I want to make sure that we give you that opportunity to use those cards. And me saying this is part of that opportunity. If you have gift cards hanging out at Sister Wigs, make sure that if you're into the name brands, you go ahead and use them. Like this month, use them. And if you don't use them, that's a-okay too. Because as I said, you know, even if we keep Sister Wigs open, at some point we may just make it all our own stuff and none of these name brands. I mean, we're still kind of navigating that and trying to figure out how much of this we want to commit to and how much we don't, right? But because we're even having those thoughts, I want to put it out there that I want you to know so you can use those gift cards if you really need to. We don't want to leave anybody hanging in that regard. It's part of my responsibility to you.
And the thing is, I know it's probably not going to make a lot of sense to a lot of people because they're like, Heather, you're successful. You do well with your content. You do well with Sister Wigs. It's actually one of the bigger of the smaller wig stores, if that makes sense. And I think all that's true. It's just, you know, to me, this has to be rewarding. It has to be something where, you know, if I'm dedicating literally 10 to 14 hour days, 7 days a week to it, I have to like what I'm doing, or else why am I doing it? You know, there's more to life than money. There's more to life than being successful. To me, not enjoying what I do for a living is not really my definition of success. Like, if I'm doing well, that's great, but to me, you know, it has to be rewarding. And while I do find it rewarding to help people find their hair, I find it to be much more rewarding when I'm literally making it for them. And they like what I'm making for them. That's much deeper. Because literally there's a much bigger commitment involved. Nobody's sending me a free wig and telling me what to say. Nobody is, you know, and by that I'm not saying people get scripts, because most people don't in this space, to my knowledge, do scripted content. But the talking points almost always come from the brands, like as in the nape is this long, we use this curl pattern, you know what I mean? It's not really that nefarious. But literally all of it's stuff I have to explore myself. I'm deliberately creating the nape length how I want it. Like this willow was meant to approximate my high school haircut. You know, so I literally went by a photo of my high school graduation photos and like tried to get the factory to make it look just like my high school hair. That's why I like this one, because it feels like home, because it's kind of a classic style. It never goes out of style. That's the kind of stuff that I like to do. And I want to do more of that. It's like I finally found something where it's like, ah, the angels are singing, everything's coming together, and frankly, that is much more successful. Hair Kitty Kitty, weirdly enough, like it's mind-blowing to me, is much more successful earlier on than Sister Wigs ever was. Craziness, right? It's absolute craziness to me because, like, I never expected that. When I first, I've said this many times, but it's true. When I first launched Sister Wigs, it took 4 years of pretty constant work to get to the point where we were making enough money where I could even pay myself. It took years to gain traction with Sister Wigs. And Hair Kitty Kitty, like, it's like I flipped a switch and people just kind of knew. They knew what it was about. I mean, I have to give you guys a lot of credit for that, because it can't just be because of me doing live streams. It has to be because you guys are helping spread the word. And thank you for that, because it shows. Like, it shows that people knew what we were doing. It shows that people got the concept. It shows that people were receptive to it and were trying to help us improve. I love that. I love the fact that you guys know enough about me to know that, for example, we don't make our wigs in sweatshops. Like, our wigs are not going to be disrupted by this mandate that just came down from the Biden administration to not do business with the Xinjiang province in China. We don't. Our wigs are not being made there. Our wigs are being made in a place where we're actually, you know, helping people who are the victims of the Rohingya genocide, and we're lifting people up out of poverty. It's pretty cool. Like, it's pretty cool what we're actually accomplishing. And I don't make it a huge part of our mission statement or what we're doing, because I've never been a believer that charity should be used as a marketing ploy. I don't think that, you know, the things we do, the good works we do as a business and our corporate responsibility should be exploited for part of a marketing narrative. So I don't mind acknowledging it and letting you know that I've been thoughtful about it. But I want you to know that the fact that you guys knew that, you already kind of knew enough about me to know that I would think that far ahead, and you gave me credit for that. Thank you. Because that makes it a lot harder for people to try to invent colorful conspiracy theories later on, which unfortunately, you know, the wigosphere tends to have a lot of drama. Point blank. It's a very dramatic space with a lot of very big personalities. And, you know, gossip just flies at a furious pace in our community, unfortunately. We should be better than that, but that's the name of the game, and you can't really get mad at it if that's just the way it is. But I really appreciate the fact that you guys get it, and that Hair Kitty Kitty has benefited from you and your integrity and your intelligence and your willingness to help me get the word out, because boom, we launched it, and in a month it's doing more business than Sister Wigs is. And I'm not selling any name brands there except for the ones that I made. Name brands that it's literally taken me going on 4 years to build that groundwork for. I was developing this stuff way back in 2018, laying the groundwork for this, filing the trademark applications. I have 2 registered trademarks. My brands are legit. They're mine. I own them outright. And I own the branding. I created the branding. I created the packaging. I designed every aspect of Hair Kitty Kitty. And it's so cool to know that you guys not only can appreciate that, but that you are on board. That's so cool. It's so cool. I mean, I don't know if I'm ever going to have many opportunities in life to say that that's the case. That, you know, I mean, think of how rare that is in this world. To do something that's like that creative and that, it's like you're making something out of nothing. Out of thin air, you just made something that other people love, and that they want to help you succeed, and that they're getting behind you to help you succeed. Like, it's a marvelous sensation. It's one that has definitely put a little bit extra wind in my sails to get me through this year and to keep me focused. And I'm very, very grateful to you for that. But yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason why for me now it's it's easy to say that I've kind of fallen out of love with selling other people's brands, and I want to focus on developing my own. And it's not necessarily about the money, because unfortunately, like, I'm at the stage in the game where we're kind of like incubating the brands, and so we're spending a lot more than we're making on them just to get them developed. And I'm not going to bore you with how much, but it's a lot. But it's a great sensation to know that perhaps that risk was not done in vain, that it was not foolhardy, that it's something where there was and still is a reason to keep that going. And now that I've had a taste of that, I know that that's what I want to keep doing with my life. Like, I love this. I love it. And whereas with name brands, I felt very burnt out. I felt exploited. Frankly, I felt like I was being very taken advantage of as a small, independent female business owner. I feel like I was being taken advantage by a whole bunch of things that were going on here. And, you know, I'm the kind of person where I'll complain about stuff, sure, but I don't just sit there and play the victim. I'm constantly trying to figure out ways to improve the situation. And if you're one of my patrons on Patreon, you probably know this about me already. I mean, look at my teeth. They're living proof that I grew up poor. I have all of my wisdom teeth still, like, and now they're at the point where I won't be able to really ever get them extracted unless I get, like, veneers or something fancy, and I'm not rich enough to afford that either, because I'm pumping all this money into building up these wig brands. But, you know, I know that some people just know that they know about my history and how, you know, I literally fought homelessness and poverty and, you know, coming from an abusive background where, you know, one of my parents was a hardcore drug addict. I came out from that and I just kept swinging and kept going at it and have been tenacious the whole time. And I don't play the victim. I acknowledge that there are problems because I don't like living in a denial-based fantasy land. And then once I acknowledge the problem, I try to figure out ways to solve it. And I feel like this is the solution to a lot of those problems, because I feel like a lot of the problems were actually attached to the brands and, frankly, some of the toxic fandom activity that comes with those brands. And it's not all members of the fandom, because I like saying it as if it's a fandom because it makes the concept make more sense. That's just how the internet works, right? Like, in every online community, most of the people are cool, they're fun to talk to, they're wonderful, and then there's like a handful where you're like, why can't we just light these people on fire? Like, they're awful, and they tend to dominate a lot of the conversation, and it makes it difficult to actually hone in on real problems so you can solve them. It makes it difficult to figure out, you know, whose opinions are actually there to help you and who's just trying to start drama because they're bored. And, you know, once you can separate out the toxic elements of the fandom, things get fun, right? It's just, it took a while for me to understand that concept, and I literally have to give credit to my husband, Nigel, for that, because he's super, like, into, like, Masters of the Universe and Star Wars and stuff, and so he was the one that really opened my eyes. He's like, yeah, honey, that's the internet. That's how every internet community works. It's like a fandom. And I was like, oh my god, you're so right. Here this whole time I was like, it's me! I'm making all these problems, and no, it's not. And I refuse to let people put all that on me just because, you know, they like things the way they are and they like taking advantage of that situation. And I think I can avoid those people too by just getting out of their lane, essentially. Getting away from brands they like, getting away from the things that they like to talk about in their content. They won't pay attention to me. I won't pay attention to them. Sounds great, you know? If we're playing a game of chicken, sure, I'll be the first to move, you know? And I'm gonna go down the road less traveled because it's more fun. It's more fun, right? And if you guys want to come along with me, we'll take a picnic lunch. We'll hang out. You know, I might not eat the bread on my sandwich because I still need to maintain, you know, the weight loss. But, you know, we can hang out, drink some coffee, stare at the pretty birds or something. I've become like a very thoroughly middle-aged bird lady. I love birds. Again, it's something where it's like genuinely awe-inspiring because most of it is coming from you. Straight up from you. And I know that sounds so cliche because it's like, you know, everybody says that kind of stuff when they're trying to make their fans feel happy. But literally it's true. Like, Hair Kitty Kitty is a living embodiment of what happened when I stopped basically going along with whatever the name brands told me to do and stopped doing the same thing over and over again and then wondering why things didn't improve and, in fact, why things tend to get more dramatic and crazy and negative. And I was feeling very negative and upset because of that environment. That special brand of insanity that comes from like doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome and then like it not happening and then repeat. I decided to not repeat. I decided to go do something else entirely, something bigger than just that, something daring, something frankly crazy, because I've got so much money and so much effort tied up in it. And it's still one of those things where it'll take time to see if that actually pays off. It's just really encouraging to know that you are receptive to that you get it. And if it weren't for you getting it and understanding it and being excited about it with me and us doing this together, it wouldn't be happening at all. You know, like, I could make all the wigs in the world, but I just end up with a really big, expensive wig collection hanging out in a warehouse. I'd be set for life in terms of hair, but that's not what I'm trying to do here. And it literally requires other people to understand it and want to be a part of it. So thank you for that. I mean, there's also something to be said that's probably not as self-evident when it comes to breaking away from, like, the name brand wigs fandoms, like, that come with each of these brands. They all have, like, a slightly different fandom. There might be some overlap, but, you know, people who are, like, brand acolytes for one brand over another, right? There's a lot of misinformation about the product, and some of it is coming from the marketing departments of these brands themselves. So it just kind of gets filtered through content creators who are getting their talking points from either the brands directly or from websites that sell them or whatever. Because, I mean, what you may not know, because it doesn't happen in a place where you can see it, is that oftentimes when these brands release products, they give us all these marketing points first as retailers and I'm sure as influencers as well. They give us marketing talking points first, and they tell us about the product, they tell us what they'd like us to say, they tell us all the specs and, you know, the colors that it's going to be available in. And then, you know, they basically try to tell us, you know, how to steer the conversation before we ever even see the product. And in some cases, when it comes to us on the retail end, they don't send us like a free product. We don't get access to it. If we want samples, we generally have to pay. And, you know, it's like we're supposed to list these on our site and sell them to our customers sight unseen before we can ever get access to the products themselves. That's really difficult to do. And it makes you very reliant on whatever talking points those brands are providing you. So again, I'm not trying to imply something nefarious on behalf of either influencers or the retailers or even the marketers. I think it's just an artifact of the marketing outpacing the production of the products, honestly. So I don't actually think there's anything like conspiracy theory-ish about it. I think it's just literally they put the cart before the horse because they have to. And it's just part of how their marketing is structured. And I don't like that. I like getting the products, seeing what they look like, and being able to demonstrate them to you first. I like being able to do that in excruciating detail, often during our live streams here on Sister Wigs 2. Sorry if they get boring and repetitive sometimes, but I want to make sure I'm like covering every single base from the permatease to the interior of the cap. Any questions you have, I want to answer them in real time to the best of my ability, because I think that's one of the real perks to me being the one who does my own marketing and me being the one that makes the products. I know this stuff and don't need to get it from a third party. I can literally just tell you, right? And I can just straightforward, bluntly tell you without sugarcoating it or anything like that, because to me, things like the permatease aren't a negative aspect if you like permatease wigs, so why hide it, right? Like, why sugarcoat it or try to downplay it? It is what it is, and if you like permatease wigs, it's not going to put you off. You're not going to want to return it. And so it's very telling of that proof of concept in just like the preliminary numbers that are coming in from Hair Kitty Kitty, because like, as I've mentioned in previous videos, the return rate on a lot of these name brands, because of this marketing behavior and among other factors, but a lot of it comes from this and the fact that we're so dependent on them to get all the information about the products, is that there's a lot of misinformation out there about the products because it's all marketing oriented and not really like commonsensical, you know what I mean? It's not like down to earth. It's like jargony a little bit and you know, talks in a lot of like trade language and stuff, and there are other aspects of it that are like but what you can really extrapolate from that in terms of like meaningful information is like the return rate at Sister Wigs, and this is consistent from what I've heard from other people in this industry as well. When it comes to the name brands, the return rate, so the amount of product that comes right back to us after we send it out, fluctuates from about 18% to about 25%, which means that like 1 out of every 4 or 1 out of every 5 wigs we send out comes right back to us. And that's very expensive. That's really expensive, particularly when we're covering like free shipping and stuff like that. I don't want to bore you. I've already talked about this before in plenty of videos. But I think it's really telling that even with free returns on Hair Kitty Kitty, the return rate is single digit. Single digit. And I think that's because, you know, I know what goes into these wigs. I know where they are made. I know why I made them. I know what the colors look like. I have control over the quality, and I don't have to worry about recirculated returns. I get straight answers from the warehouse when I ask them questions about inconsistencies, particularly with colors and stuff, and I'm on the front line to catch them and to fix them. That's how we came up with the color Queen of the Night for Leighton. That was a mistake that I caught when they sent me a prototype, and I was like, oh, this is completely wrong, but it's awesome, and we should totally make this. And I launched it, and it sold out within like 2 days. What? A mistake that I caught in production, and I was open with everybody about the fact that that's how that color came about. Sold out literally in 2 days. What? It's crazy sauce. It's so cool. But that's what I'm getting on about. It's like, because I'm not constantly fighting a bunch of well-intended misinformation, the return rate is lower on Hair Kitty Kitty, even though the returns are 100% free. Though I can't reach through the screen and literally hug you, I hope that you can kind of feel, can you feel the love tonight, is basically what I'm saying. Like, I want you to know that it is where we are. No, it's it's literally like, it's something where words could never be enough to express it. It's just amazing to me. It is awe-inspiring to me that you guys get what I'm doing and that we are accomplishing such wonderful things together. Because that sounds like some kind of like weird kumbaya bumper sticker, never happens in real life kind of thing, but here we are. And that's pretty cool. And I need to let you know, hence all this excruciating detail, like, next year is going to look a lot different for me than all of the previous years. Because I finally get to break away from the monotony and the stress and the drama that comes from selling some of these brands. Not all of them, but some of them come with a lot of baggage attached. And it's going to be really nice to get to the point where I can just leave that in my past and move on to doing this fun stuff, where we get to make cool stuff happen and make cool hair together. And you guys are the reason why that's possible. You guys are the reason why I have hope. It's literally you watching this video right now, even if you've not gone to Hair Kitty Kitty and bought something. You watching this to this point has helped me potentially reach a new audience somewhere else, because the algorithm's going to pay attention to that. So thank you for your time. Thank you for interacting with me and my video content and our content on social media in general, because again, that helps the algorithm see us. Most people, when they watch content, particularly on YouTube, they don't like, share, comment, or subscribe. About 80% of people just watch and they don't interact. So if you are the kind of person who interacts as well, because if you ever wonder why everyone seems to say that in their videos, that's why. It's like they have to remind people, because most people don't do it. Just know that if you've interacted with our videos, you've helped us even more, and that is very appreciated. And if you have been hanging out with us in Moon Kitty Mix-Up and providing us with feedback about what you think of the products, you've been very helpful to us, and I want to thank you for your input. If you've shopped at Hair Kitty Kitty and you've left a review, or you just gave it a try and you wrote into the help desk and let us know what you thought, thank you for helping us improve, get better over time, and try to get where we're going. It's literally something where there's no way I could have ever done this solo. It's literally because of you. And that's really cool. It's really, really cool. And I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that. And here's looking forward to the new year. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And we'll talk to you again next week, hopefully, when we reboot the live stream. Bye, everybody, and have a happy new year.